I thought I'd ruin these miniatures. Luckily they were salvageable. In this video I'm going to go over some tips on how you can avoid these mistakes and also how you can fix them if they do happen. Make sure your primer is warm enough. Now, I've had some very experienced miniature painters tell me that this step is completely unnecessary and that it works for them even in sub-zero temperatures. I've had equally experienced miniature painters tell me that they do it all the time and they swear by it. I only do this to be safe if the weather has been particularly cold. Shake your can. Now, this is one that everyone agrees with. Some people shake it as much as 2 minutes before they go out to spray. This is a step that I really would not avoid. Choosing the right spray for you. Most people would agree that the best colour is black or a dark grey, simply because you get that depth and shade naturally as you paint over it. Others will argue that it's best to prime using a colour that's closest to the main colour of the mini you're painting. So when I first started and I was facing 20 termagants, I chose the latter option just because I thought I would make it easier for myself. But as I get more experienced, I know I will lean more into the black. The most important tips that I can give is simply to make sure that you spray at almost like an arm's length. This avoids pooling when you're spraying your minis. And don't chase perfection, another big tip. If you're trying to get it completely perfect, you're trying to get complete full coverage, there's more chance that you are going to overpool the paint and it's going to ruin the mini and it will be harder to salvage. Remember that really you're just laying a foundation for your painting. This isn't the main painting scheme of your mini. You're literally just priming. So don't try to get it perfect and it should be fine. You also want to consider where you're priming. I think it's best to prime outside, but as some hobbyists have spoke to me, they've basically said that it's not a possibility because I live in an apartment and you can prime indoors. The only advice I'd give is to make sure that it's well ventilated and that you know where your spray is going. It's very common for hobbyists that are spraying indoors to accidentally get the paint on something that they really don't want it to go on, whether that be furniture or it could even be another mini nearby. So you really want to take the time to kind of prep your workspace. In this clip I'm showing here, I'm still learning, and I'd say one of the mistakes that I'm making is to do too much of a pass. I'm almost spraying too much in between the minis. And that's not really necessary. I'm just wasting paint. It's not a huge deal, it's just a bit of a waste. And short, controlled, distant bursts are better. You'll also notice that I'm using this stick from the Warhammer shop. It's a luxury item, you don't need it, a stick is completely fine. Now, the reason that I ruined these was simply because I didn't follow the tips that I've just said. I tried to chase perfection and I went in too close and didn't follow the short burst rule. Luckily, they weren't really expensive miniatures or ones that I massively cared about, although I do care about them. I just got this alcohol, 99.9%, and then all you do is leave the minis in the alcohol for at least 2 hours and overnight if necessary. It's best to use gloves just to be safe. I'm not sure just how much of an irritant the alcohol is, as I'm not a doctor or anything, but I just think it's best to do that. I left mine for just over 2 hours, which wasn't quite enough on the first pass. In hindsight, I'd leave it much longer than that. And then you simply just use an old toothbrush and just slowly remove the paint. It's not easy, but then again, it might have been a bit easier if I'd left it longer to soak. When I was doing this, I overbrushed and actually snapped off a part of the ripper, so it kind of went from bad to worse. But all I did was glue that back on afterwards. I'd say just take your time with it. If it's not coming off easy, it's best to just leave it that bit longer. I'd also say, remember the key tip that I keep saying, and that's don't chase perfection. Trying to get that that perfect removal is what led to me snapping off part of my mini. Remember that you are going to prime it again afterwards anyway. Keep at it and you will get there. Another thing I'd say is don't use substitutes such as nail varnish remover. Get a 99.9% alcohol. If you use something that's too harsh, you will lightly damage the mini. The exact one I used, I'll put in the description. It's less than £10 at the moment. You can get a lower percent alcohol as well, and that will also work, but just make sure that you leave it for longer to soak. When I'd finished and re-primed them, they looked absolutely fine. They weren't completely perfect, but a million times better than when I first started, and they turned out like this. If you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please like and subscribe. And I also have released a general tips video if you're just starting Warhammer. Thank you!